Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. I'm Mike McQueen, the Chief Information Officer for VirtualIT and all of our clients. I want to thank you for joining us today to talk about Microsoft Planner. For those of you that have been following our series of webinars about useful Office 365 tools, you may remember that we actually covered Planner around this time last year. Just want to assure you this isn't a rerun. We're not recycling topics, and we haven't run out of tools to highlight. We're actually circling back on this one because in the past year, there have been a lot of changes and improvements made to it. And in my opinion, I think Planner is one of the most powerful tools in Microsoft's arsenal. And I want to make sure that we highlight the ways that it can help your team collaborate a little more effectively. I want to introduce John and Dave from Knowledge Wave, who we have partnered with to put on this series of webinars. Their team provides live and on-demand training for Microsoft tools. So if you're looking to offer training to your employees, highly recommend that you contact them. With that, I think it's time to dive a little deeper into Microsoft Planner. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to John to get us going.
Great. Thank you, Mike, for the awesome introduction. I'm excited to talk about Planner. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. We really dive into, as Mike mentioned, some of the beginner stuff, but this isn't a repeat at all, and he makes some really great points. Planner is one of those tools that you see. It exists. You see tasks and to-do items, and you see all these places to keep track of things, and it can feel confusing. But if we go to this app, which is Planner, I'm going to show you in the next 45 minutes or so how it actually integrates with all of these other apps, and there are some really cool new features that you can do to build right into your existing workflow, or even adapt or adopt some of the new things and change your workflow to be more efficient and effective. So Mike, great points. Thanks for that introduction, was spot on. So again, welcome. We're glad you're here. My colleague and friend Dave is here as well. So if you have questions, he's going to be available to help out, and I'll address them as I can throughout the webinar. So please use that question panel. In fact, say hi, tell us where you're from. Please feel free to communicate with us that way, and we can help you out. And hopefully everybody can hear us, and we'll get started right away. I can see some people are just still joining. All right, well, again, my name is John. I'm excited to talk about Planner. We've got a few things on the agenda to talk about. Again, some basics. We're going to pack in that foundation a little bit. What is Planner? How does it fit into my workflow? And how can I most effectively use the Planner hub and your tasks? And there's this concept of my day. There's some really cool new features. And if you're a Teams user, you've probably seen that integration happen a little bit already. Kind of slid in. The icon changed on the tile. So I'm going to give a tour of the interface. And when I say that, I mean in Planner, but also the different places that it shows up across the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, which is really cool because it's kind of always there to help you keep on track. And what Microsoft has done is, I like the update. We put together personal tasks with our group or team, maybe a smaller group, but then also it ties in, and this is rolling out from spring through this summer, to integrate Microsoft Project with it as well. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we talk about what Planner is, but I'm going to demo it. So we'll see what it's like to create a plan. And there are different types, so it might be good to see a personal plan. That's a newer feature. We didn't have that last year. A group plan that could be for your team or your department or a certain project. We've got some real life examples to show. Also how to create a plan in Planner within Teams, and how those interact, how they're integrated so well. Talk a little bit about assigning plans and tasks, what cards and buckets are, and different views and ways that you can modify your tasks. We'll then talk about what To-Do is. To-Do is a personal task management app. It's newer, and we'll explore that and how it ties to Planner. So we'll show how to create a to-do list. This is personal, but it's going to be like work personal, kind of like your OneDrive, and Planner would be kind of like your SharePoint, if you think of it like that. So accessing and working with your tasks and to-do in a variety of different places. It shows up in SharePoint, it shows up in OneDrive, it shows up in Teams, everywhere. So that integration is going to be really important to just have some awareness of, and then see how easy it is to actually make a couple of adjustments and really get Planner to work well for you. As Mike said, it's just one of those apps, very, very powerful. It's extensible because we can use it for a variety of different sizes of projects or groups. So along the way, we're going to talk about some tips and tricks, and of course, be available for questions at the end if need be. All right, I am curious, which I believe I believe everybody on here actually has access to Planner, but bear with me just for a moment. I was going to pull you. Let's create one right now. Here it is. I'm curious, do you currently use Microsoft Planner as a daily thing? Maybe I should change the way that's worded, but if you're able to, you can certainly use the QR code. You can also grab that link. It's kind of a weird one, but you could type it in. But if you don't feel like doing any of it, or you're not able, certainly feel free to just type in the question panel too. It looks like people so far 50-50. Some people aren't using it. This is good. 66%. See, I'm getting excited that you're not using it. And the reason is, hopefully by the end of this webinar, we can show you how easy it is to use, how it's incredibly helpful. So a lot of people aren't. So hear me out. I think you're going to like it. I think that it might be something that you can adopt with your team, because it's something that you're already doing. You're already managing a project, or you're managing yourself or a team of people or resources. You're already doing that, likely, in your day-to-day. It doesn't matter what your position is. So keeping track of your personal projects or tasks individually, privately, or shared, you can do that. So it looks like a lot of people are not using it yet, which I'm going to kind of switch to the other screen here, and we'll go into some of the things. That's good to know. I appreciate people participating in that. All right, let's explore what it is, and you can see what I'm getting all excited about. So Microsoft Planner, it is a project management tool, and it's part of the suite of apps that we get as part of our subscription for Microsoft 365. So it's something that you're already paying for. It's available. It's a tool in the Microsoft toolbox. It's a good tool. So it allows you to create and manage your tasks. Again, personal for your group. You can assign them to team members. And this is helpful because if you think, when we say task in Microsoft, if you think of Microsoft Outlook tasks, historically, they haven't been, in my opinion, particularly helpful because it was one person at a time who could be assigned a task. It wasn't very visual. It was simply a list. You could change your view a little bit. This allows you to change your mind to multiple people. You can set deadlines. You can change those deadlines. That's what happens with projects. It's very flexible. And tracking the progress provides a lot of accountability, saves a lot of emails. You can just go look at the plan instead of emailing a person or a team to see what's up. And you can see, again, that accountability. We're waiting for this particular thing. You don't have to be a project manager to use Planner. It's not Microsoft Project. It's kind of in between. It's for your smaller group. But the new feature is you can have personal ones. I'll show you that. Now, if they're just personal, one-off task management for yourself, and you need to prioritize things throughout your day, you can use this app called To Do. I really recommend it. You can download all these apps on your phone, by the way, and it integrates nicely that way with the mobile. And using To Do is a great start. You might notice that as you have more items, you're feeling a little bit more productive because it's good to have that list, and it's always there. You've probably noticed this blue check mark in a variety of different places. We see it everywhere. We see Planner and To Do kind of coming together, but my little animation, which one should you use? Sometimes it's hard to decide. Well, do I use Planner or do I use To Do? And what are these personal plans? What should I do? There's so many choices. I'm not sure. So Planner for your group, To Do, personal. Let's talk about briefly what the differences for why you would use one versus the other. So to-do, individual tasks, and you can use it across the to-do app, across Outlook. It actually shows up in the navigation bar. You'll see that blue check. And you'll see things like my day, and you'll see that in Planner as well. So this could be a daily to-do list. Set up this meeting. It can be, I think I have one, walk my dog at lunch, just to put it in there. And then you can check these things off. It's shareable, but it's personal. So you can share certain lists with people, but have it be private. So people aren't going to see these. Planner, on the other hand, that's going to be teamwork. That's a way to manage it visually. And there are some really cool charts that we see that provides a lot of insight. And then we can collaborate across the groups that we have in Microsoft 365. So that's like a team in Teams. That's a group. A SharePoint site. That's a group. We're able to use it. So groups give us a lot of different services, and Planner is one of them. You always get a plan, and you can have the option to create more within that group with all of these other things. So you can see that integration's easy when we use a Microsoft 365 group. And you'll see that word come up sometimes because it may ask you, do you want to tie your plan to this group of people? Because then the permissions are automatic, or do you want to start something new and assign permissions on your own? You get different options. And as I mentioned, it integrates even just to visualize the project. So here's an example of a SharePoint team site for this project team, Mark8 project team. It's Teams connected. I can see the Teams icon right there. And look at this. On the SharePoint site, we've got our documents and some pictures, a countdown, 0. But we also have, in Planner, we have basically the status of that project tracking. And we can put this as a web part on SharePoint. When people go to the site, they'll see it. We could set it up as a tab in Teams. They could see it. We get to kind of surface that because there's a share button right up on the top. We can share the page. This is great. We can change what shows up. We can have names or not. But again, this provides that transparency. Integration with Outlook, it's great because if a task kind of begins slipping through the cracks, you get emails, reminders. Hi, John, you have 3 tasks due. You can see that. So you get these follow-ups. It tells you the task, tells you which plan it's in, dates, how many days it's due. If you're late, it definitely lets you know. But there's a new feature where you can actually flag an email, which we've been able to do for a while, but it's going to show up in the To-Do app and in Planner. We're going to see that all in one place in this Planner hub. So again, we don't have to worry about permissions if we do a group because they're already the people we work with. And if it's a particular email and you flag that email, like, oh, I've got to get to this, but I can't until tomorrow, right click, flag for tomorrow, and it's going to show up in the To-Do app, which is actually going to be in your Outlook and everywhere else as well. In tasks, you're going to see that here in this list. And I'll show you in the demo, but you don't even have to leave Outlook. It's awesome. So let's take a look, and I'll demo some of this. Again, if you've got questions, please ask. We've got some examples, and we'll show you around a little bit. So what I've done, and certainly feel free to follow along. You can certainly go to Microsoft365.com if you want to. Go to that so you can see what it looks like. If you log in, make sure you're logged in as you, and because you may have multiple accounts. And it's going to bring you to that landing page. And check this out. We actually have plans that I've worked on recently. Basically, this morning I was bringing them up so they'd show up here. But this is great. We could go directly to a plan. But for following along, if you click on the app launcher, you're going to see Planner. Now, if you've never used Planner, if it's not something you use, you might not see it right there. So make sure you click on More Apps, and then you're going to see that listed here. There it is. Create plans, organize and assign tasks, share files, get progress updates. Awesome. If you want to use it a lot, I suggest pinning it, and then it's going to be here on the side. So anytime you go to that website, which is a great landing page, by the way, you're going to have Planner right there. And you can move those tiles around, by the way. So now you may have something similar. It's going to give you, it's very welcoming. It's going to encourage you to get the app. If you use Planner within Teams, you're going to get your notifications there as well. Someone's asking if there's any integration between Planner and Smartsheet. You can integrate some of the third-party apps like that are on Microsoft using Power Automate. That's a possibility. I don't have an example specifically of how to integrate a Planner and Smartsheet, but if you're interested in doing that, I would check out Power Automate, because then you can automate and use connectors, and sometimes that will allow you to do that. And then as I show you some of the views, you may be able to import some of that. But as far as a straight connection, you probably have to get fancier and use Power Automate, because Planner is meant to be one of those tools to help your group. I show that image of all the services and apps you kind of get when you're in a Microsoft 365 group, permissions wise and stuff. But this is tied directly to it. So when we log in and we've got Planner here, it welcomes me. I've got a couple of pinned, these are new, I just created these, a couple of pinned plans. On the bottom center, we see recent, we see recommended, and we see all. Now this is a practice environment. So again, we've got some that are empty, some that have some practice examples in there. But if you're here, you're going to see buttons on the left. If you don't see those, if it's just like this, the look and feel of these Microsoft apps is now, if you click on the 3 lines there, that's going to expand or collapse this. So I like it to be out, lose a little real estate, but you can actually see the buttons. So we've got a new plan, and it does give us a nice tooltip, create a new plan. This is the hub. That's where we can get that overview, that visual overview. That's what it brings us to right off. We have assigned to me. These are things that are either I've assigned to myself, I'm on with other people, maybe things we're working on together collaboratively, and it brings me right to this board view. So I've got one late task. We can see different things on here like important, and I'll explain what these mean as we get into cards. But this is great because we get that visual very quickly. This is a bucket, and here's a bucket in progress, completed, not started. So as we click on these cards and we interact with each card, we can do things like add files, add a checklist, so it almost becomes a subtask. And then if you have a lot of subtasks or checklist items, you can actually promote those to be their own task. So there are a lot of things you can do to change your mind and really fine-tune that whole experience. So that's assigned to me. Now there are other views. We have a grid view. Sometimes people like this, and this might be something that you're familiar with. These can be moved around though. So if you don't like the order of something, typically these can be moved. We can also sort and filter. So this is what we would expect, maybe just a list with checked items here. So I could just check that off. It's going to do a little ding and tell me that it's done. If I change my mind, I can certainly use this drop down. So these are all interactive, and it does give, again, those little tooltips. So this tests new features, and it's just something I assigned to myself. Notice as I mouse over, we get all these different choices. So what we're doing is we're just going to Planner, looking at assigned to me, and then interacting with these. So let's take test new features. This little eye that opens the detail pane, which is basically the card. It gives you suggestions, uses AI to actually help us work faster, smarter. It gives us a lot of just offerings. Some of these may not be relevant to what I'm working on, test new features, but for some reason, I either used it on a project or it looked at the contents of the file and decided, hey, this might be associated. It could be attachments from emails. It's looking across everything. So that's how integrated it is. I'm going to click away. If you want to get out of those cards, all you have to do is click away, or you can hit the X. But that's great. That gives us details. There are also keyboard shortcuts. So here are more options. We can delete it for thinking, well, no thanks. That won't be a good one. Copy a link to that task, which is great if you're sharing a task or assigning it to somebody and then you want to reshare it, they can't find it, just send them a link, copy that link and send it in a Teams chat or something, and then complete. And then here, that's me. I can click, I can see I'm assigned to it. So I need somebody to test these new features with. So if I type in Dave, for example, I just assigned that to Dave as well. So if I change my mind, I unassign myself. You can remove people. Really easy to interact with. Then here we have the date. And see, this one's a little bit late. We haven't had a chance to test. So I'm going to go make that maybe by Friday. So that updated, changed it from red. And this is all part of this plan, which is the product launch event.
Hey, John, sorry.
Yeah, Dave.
Brendan has a question. I think because you're showing this assignment, it would make sense to talk about it now, if that's all right. His question is, our company operates in the metal fabrication industry. So my question is around assigning tasks to users in different departments. Can I assign a task to anyone with an internal Microsoft account, or is the task limited to someone inside a certain group?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Dave. We can address that. It's a good question because, like, what is this scope? I talked about it being extensible and flexible, and you can really refine it. So the ways that you would do that is by creating different types of plans. And the reason that plans are typically associated with a group is for permissions, because Planner is going to lean on the permissions that either you personally set up, which I'll show you. Like here's some, like a personal plan, goals for 2024. I might have multiple things in there. I just want to organize it. Or I'm starting this marketing campaign launch and I've got a few things, but I haven't added anyone yet. I haven't associated with a group. I'm sort of getting it ready. If I associate with a private group, then the benefit of that is that nobody else is going to see the tasks we're working on. You don't want everybody to see all your tasks, especially if it's sensitive stuff, just the group. So the idea is it manages the permissions. So if you want to work with like your whole organization or across different departments, you would just want to make sure that that group was public instead of private. That's how you would do that. Otherwise, they just don't show up. You can mention people or begin typing. But on the members drop down, so let me go to the other one. Thank you, Dave. This is a good time to mention that because, I'm talking about assigned to me, and we see the different views. I'm kind of showing how to interact with each of these, right? And pretty straightforward, though, about the progress and priority. You can make changes here. But when you want to, let's take this product launch event. I'm going to take that opportunity to jump, and we'll look at the different views with a more real-life example. We can see that there are lots of people in this one. We've got lots of members, and the reason these people are here is because they're part of this linked plan, this group, the sales and marketing right here, and the product launch event. So it tells us tasks in this plan are linked with other content. So it does communicate to you exactly what you can do. But I'm going to show you. Let's say you're working with a whole organization, and it could be something like new employee onboarding, and everybody, this is a public group. What that means is public inside the organization. So that's a designation that's set up. So if it's private, then that was set up so that you had to actually assign the people to it, to that group. But if it's public, that means anybody, the permissions are set up, anybody in the organization can get to it, can be added. They might ignore it, they may not participate in it, but they have that option to actually find, search for, and then join that new employee onboarding one. Even though we have 7 members added, what people can do is actually ask or join that within Teams or within SharePoint. So short story long, it basically public group or private group makes all the difference. So if you want to communicate with your whole org, that's a great idea. When you create any sort of a group, it will actually ask you, it's got to be a team site, and that will actually ask you, do you want to make it available for everybody in the org? Hopefully that makes sense. We'll go through some demos, and if you want to ask some follow-up, please do. But that's a good point. What's the permission? Here, this is more of a private one, and people need to be added. Right now I'm looking, I'm just going to re-steer back to this. Hopefully that was helpful. Here we can see different plans that we're a part of, and these plans are in Planner. You can see finance department, sales and marketing. Here's the Mark 8 project tracking. All right, this has different cards in this plan. And if I click on the three dots, I can pin that to the top. If that's a project that I'm working on a lot, I'm going to want to pin that. And you can see a chance to do that up here as well. So this is our project, and we're just doing the tracking, and it's associated with the Mark 8 project team. So that actually exists in Teams and SharePoint, and this is the planning part of it. So I'm going to show, here's the grid view. So we see the assignment. We can see this is the catering's been done, so that's going to strike through, and it's completed. So as we go through and maybe check these off, we can see that change. But it also allows us to do things, sometimes they can feel overwhelming, like filter. We can see just late tasks. Oh, Dan has got to do that. So that means I could go into that task and make a comment, follow up with Dan. I can also, he's a non-member, add differently. So again, there's one example actually of adding a non-member. So it's possible. You just have to kind of be aware of how that group is set up. I'm just going to click. I clicked on the name, and it actually took me to the SharePoint site, and that plan is listed there as well. So if you're a person who likes to use SharePoint for a lot of your work, or you like to send people SharePoint links, or maybe link it from a newsletter, you may want it to surface right here. That's a possibility. You can add this to SharePoint very easily when you edit the page. You can put that little web part in there and choose how it shows. In this case, just chose to show it in the board view. So let's go back. I'll show you what that means. There's board view. These are the different views. Board view basically has different buckets: to do, messaging, and this probably should be brand or messaging and brand. Oh, branding. Easy to update. You can just click, even if you do just little things like that. These can be easily moved around. You can also add new buckets here, and that's going to allow you to, I'm just going to call this one follow-up survey. Just ideas. You can make this whatever you want and move that around. You can also, this is one thing you can't often do with Microsoft stuff, in my opinion, is if you click on the page, you don't have to use the scroll bar in Planner. So I'm going to use the control key and the wheel on my mouse, kind of zoom in. Sometimes this is helpful, but keep in mind, you can actually just left click and drag. Imagine it's your finger just moving it across the table. So control wheel on my mouse is going to zoom in and out. This is some accessibility tips here. We can all benefit from sometimes that and then just moving. So these are ways that you can interact with this quickly and without being frustrated trying to find that little slider bar to go over. Sometimes there are several buckets, and anybody can contribute to this if they're a member. That's the idea. It's collaborative. So the other view is chart view. Now, we don't have a lot in this one right now. If I go to the project launch event, in the chart view, we have way more. And this is great. It provides insight. It's interactive. We can mouse over it. It almost has a Power BI feel to it because we can see those screen tips kind of pop up: on track, 4 completed, 2 in progress. So we can see the names of those. We can see the priority, and we can see, here we are with the transparency and accountability part. We can see who's late. For example, Alex. If I click on that, I can see that Alex, it's not in a bucket, but it's planned dinner event, and that was due a few weeks ago. So I can click on that. What this means is I get a look inside the card. We see all the different labels, the name, and it's assigned to Alex. If I wanted to take it over, for example, I could go in and assign myself. I can add labels, so we can see different custom categories or tags here. Sometimes they're by color by default. There are a lot of color choices, a lot more than there used to be. And then if you click on the pencil icon, you can actually change the name of that. So if colors are meaningful to you, if you like tagging things like this, that means you can sort and filter by those tags later on, which is really helpful for reporting of your projects if they become larger. So these labels, kind of a cool feature. I'm going to make this one event planning, and then I'm going to, this one is silver. I'm going to change that to I'm going to write John, because that designates, I'm going to kind of take that one over. You can stack these. You can have multiple labels for your tasks. And then here, I'm just going to put this one at risk, and I'm going to say it's in progress, starting today, and I need to finish this up by Friday to plan this dinner event. I could have it repeating. This isn't really helpful for this one. It's a one-time thing, but I have some of these that are recurring. I can put some notes here if I want to. And this is all inside the card. This is kind of like editing an existing task that was assigned to Alex. I can go in and create checklist items. For example, procure menu ideas. Ask via Microsoft Forms survey about preferences. I'm going to begin putting these. And you'll see here, show on card. That means it'll show my checklist right on the front of the card, so people don't even have to click to see what the next step is. And again, that helps having to get emails like, hey, what's the status on this? They can just go look. You can also attach files. They could be from your computer. They could be files you're already collaborating on. For example, I want to include the branding elements PowerPoint because we want to make up some special cards. I just want to include that. Sometimes brand standards, just as an example. If we're planning something, we want to nail the brand, so I'm attaching this PowerPoint that has our branding elements on it. We can choose to show that on the card as well. And I click away to show you what I mean. This is what I mean. Sometimes that's helpful because you'll be able to see a thumbnail of the file. This is a PowerPoint. We're seeing that title slide. We see the tags right off. And maybe now that I did that, it's on track. I'm going to click in there again. Now I'm going to comment though. I'm going to say, Alex, one thing is @mentions don't work in the comments section of this for some reason. Alex, I'm good to take this over. Enjoy your vacation. And I'm going to do Windows period, and I'm going to just put an emoji in there. And send. So this keeps track of what we're doing. This suggests different attachments, and then of course I just customize all this. So now what's going to happen is Alex gets a notification, and it actually, here, John Hood, this shows up in activity of Alex's, see, we're pretending we're Alex now, Teams environment. Check it out. This is what I just wrote when I was pretending I was me over there with the practice account. But now we're Alex, we're another person, and we can see they're late on a lot of tasks, but there are a lot of projects here, but they see that. And there's the planner icon. That is the new planner experience that brings together all of these different things I was talking about. Planner, to-do, project, the project on the web. It's an extra license to have that one because it's really for project managers. But a lot of us manage projects even though we're not project managers to some degree. And Planner lets you kind of manage those with some flexibility. So that's great. No email to deal with. We're going to be in Teams anyway most of the time. That's going to show up in activity, and Alex is going to be able to see that. Now let's show you another thing from Alex's perspective. If I go to Outlook, here's an example of some of the emails that you get from Planner. Like, hi Alex, you have a task due. Plan dinner event. Now, Alex is still going to have full access to collaborate on that task with me or with the group. Sometimes it does give you these exciting pop-ups. But here we go. This is, again, a view from a different person in the group. So if they click on here, you can see I'm kind of taking over this one. They're psyched. And maybe they've already procured some menu ideas. They could actually check that off, and you'll see that checklist working. Now, maybe Alex is saying, well, I don't mind doing the survey thing. I'll take that on as a task. So this is an example of collaborating. We can make this a new task by clicking that up arrow. Now it's checked off of this list in the card, but we're going to see that here as its own task, as its own card. So now Alex could go in, assign themselves, and say I've already started it. And from here, add attachments, for example, the menu or some notes or descriptions, and communicate. So anybody in the group, anybody in this launch event, all these people can see this. But so far, Alex and I have been the only ones interacting. I could then add Dave. I could add anybody. So that board view is really helpful. For this one, we're going to just move that over there. I like it. It's like swim lanes. You can see things really easily. Here are the charts. This is what we saw on that SharePoint page. You can take little peeks of it, like windows as containers, and place them in different areas, and they're all going to update at the same time. Now, we also get this task view on the side, so it gives us a few different ways to look. Now, we keep talking about all the different ways you can look at it. If you click on open, it will take you to SharePoint or to Teams, and you're going to see it there. So I mentioned it's in Outlook. It's its own app within the browser. We see it in Teams. And when I say it, I mean Planner. Right there. In Teams, we have Planner. And this view, in my opinion, is better. You can use the full Planner app inside of the browser. But for me, I'm just going to give you my experience. I'm in Teams all the time. Like all day, it's just always up. And I use Planner every day. I like having Planner here. And I put it on the top. Sometimes it may be on the bottom, or you might not even see it. So if you're following along, take a look, see if you see Planner in Teams. And if you don't, click on Apps, and then here you can search for Planner. Oops. You would choose Add if you don't have it, or Open. That's going to show up on the side here. And if you right-click it, I recommend pinning it and then moving that up to the top if that seems helpful for you. I like it there because it's always kind of where my mouse lands. When I move it to the left, I use it that much. The other thing that you can do that's helpful if you begin using Planner is to right-click and open it in a new window. If you do that, that means you have this floating window in Teams, because I understand one thing about Teams is sometimes if you go to a different place, you kind of lose that window you had open. Unless you popped it out, then you can maybe have this on another screen or something like that. I like it because I can go chat, interact with people, do what I need, or come back to it. And then if you close it, it's just going to kind of put it back there. So popping that out, opening in a new window is the tip, the pro tip on that one. So within here, this is what I'm saying. Within Teams, it is, in my opinion, the easiest way to use Planner because it integrates all of the planning apps and planning stuff into one spot. And we get those views that I was just showing, like the grid view, the board view, the ability to do all the same things, like move things around or click and drag to filter and see only the late tasks maybe, or filter by certain labels, or clear all. That's where you can clear those. Sometimes you get a little excited, there are too many filters on. You can also group different ways. This is a great way to report on things. You can see the person and their picture or initials, and then you're going to see all the tasks that are assigned to them. And we're seeing that one twice because we're both on there. Pretty cool. So grouping a variety of different things. If you do due date, it does a kind of breaks it down nicely. You can also filter by keywords. So if you just can't find what you're looking for and that's frustrating, click and then plan. It starts finding it. There's plan for dinner event. There's a better example. If I just start typing in, I'm like, I know I have this task about dinner. I just DIN, there it is. Very easy to work with. Type to filters is awesome. All right. The other view that I want to show you is schedule view. So we're back up to the top. Schedule view. If you're a person who likes Outlook and you like calendars, certainly we have a calendar in Teams too, but this gives us a calendar view, still a list, it's just visual, of all of the different tasks that are available. There are a lot, as we can see. different colors that mean different things. We can hide future recurring tasks. We can check out the week view or the month view. This is really helpful for people who like that calendar look. And you can also make this show up in your Outlook if you want. You can have the calendar from a project show up in Outlook. So we're going to kind of show that other way in the Outlook environment of how you can see Planner. So now I'm in Outlook. There's To Do. To click on More Apps, you may need to scroll through and find it. So if I add apps, you should be, if you don't see it, you should find To Do. You can search for that. I think mine were all added, so that's okay. And this can also be moved around a little bit. Maybe have that up on the top. So if you find yourself being in Outlook most of the day, maybe not Teams, or even if you bounce back and forth, here's my mail workspace. I see these emails about Planner, Planner in Teams, and Planner for the web. Just remember, Planner in Teams kind of brings it all together. In fact, we see that To Do app right there. When you do this, it brings us to My Day, which leans towards the personal tasks, but also bringing in group ones if you want to. You can add anything to My Day. There are important tasks. We see the numbers here, ones that I've started. These are planned. These are ones that either are recurring, I've been assigned to, I've assigned myself to. The flagged email part is awesome. Remember, we're in Outlook right now. We're seeing that same thing in Teams, on the web. So again, it depends on your workflow. Anytime you see that blue check, you can click on that and see flagged emails, tasks that have to do with plans in Planner or personal. They all show up here. I'm going to go back here. Now, if you want to follow up on any of these are all able to be linked. Maybe I know I've got to get to these tasks, or I know that I want to check out this information about bookings, right? So this is something I've been wanting to do. There's the flag. I can right click and say, I want to get to this, but I can't till tomorrow. So I flag that. It's the Welcome to Microsoft Bookings. Now, if I go, still in Outlook, to Do and flagged emails, there it is, Welcome to Microsoft Bookings. I can say, well, you know what, I actually can't do that till Friday. It's going to show up on Friday. It's going to show up in My Day. And you can add tasks to your day anytime you want. Here, take Raven, my dog, for a walk at lunch. I can update that. I can mark it as important, change the date. But this is a recurring task that I have. So I'll go to List View and show you. See a little recurring symbol? If I right click, I've got a variety of different things, including moving it to other places, copying it, deleting it. See, we've got lots. So think about, do I have a task that's personal? You may go to Tasks, create one, reduce operation. This is a big one. Oops. Reduce operational costs by 10%. Right? That's something that I want to do. Let's say we're going to go and say, well, let's do this. Pick a date. I'm just going to go to the end of August. Save. Right? That might be just something I have on there. Maybe I want to be reminded about it next week to kind of get started. And then I can choose Add. So I just created a task for myself. And then I could add it to my day. See how these all change? Incredibly helpful. From here, you can create lists. You can share those. I talked about those a little bit earlier. So let's go back to Planner. And I'm going to get out of Teams. When you create a new plan, we're just wrapping up. Thank you for questions, by the way. It's easy to get started because what I'm doing is kind of showing you these new features, showing you the integration, showing you the flagged emails, how easy it is. All these things kind of that we've been wanting to do finally are able to be pulled together, and it's easy. You can create blank plans. You can create others based on templates. Your project management. It gives you buckets. It gives you the cards, some task, basic ones. You can enter the plan title. So this could be Project XYZ. And then I can choose to add it to an existing group. So I can say, well, this is another plan. See private or public, by the way. Sales and marketing is public. I can set that up. And then anybody can be added. So that was a great question before. And then I can create this. Now I don't have to add it to something else. It could be just a personal plan. So that's how we really deal with those permissions at first. But check it out. That's how easy it was to get started on this. We don't have any members on this one yet, but we saw how easy it is to interact with this. Anytime you see 3 dots, this is where you can go in and export it to Excel if you wanted to. Sometimes people want to have that data. You can go into plan details. You can add the plan to your calendar, like I was saying, pin it. There are other things associated with that group as well. So please check it out. I mean, consider adding a few things for yourself, for personal plans, thinking about the hub. If you want to get started on something, use one of the templates. Don't be afraid to assign yourself things. Create a personal plan. And certainly, any of these that you see, pinning them to the top is going to help you interact with those a little bit more if it's something that you have to work with. All right. Certainly, if other people have questions, or Dave, if there's anything that you thought maybe we should bring up.
No, I just want to dovetail something that you had mentioned this morning. Yeah, John, this morning I taught a class, webinar in the professional development series on self-assessment, performing your own self-assessment to see where you are with work. And I talked about using Planner as a way to create your goal as a plan and then have the tasks within the plan on how you want to get there. And then this way, one of the things that's great about it is you can even have a due date. So if you wanted to, I don't know, if your plan was to be certified in something or take a class and you have to do certain things to complete that, that planner task, it's a great way to practice with the tool, and it's there. You don't have to assign it to anybody, so it's just yours. And then that way you're really being able to practice Planner, and it's something that's going to benefit you and your organization. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So instead of just writing it down on paper or trying to use a complex project or even a spreadsheet, you can create a plan.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Dave. So what I've done here is just basic. I made it private. Nobody can see it. I like the board view, so I've got it on that one. But it's just 24 business goals for myself. Make different buckets for yourself. Go in and maybe like professional development, add a task and just say, complete, like Dave was saying, maybe complete a certification course. And just say, I'd love to do this by the end of August or something. Assign yourself. Easy. Make sure you actually click it. And then add that task. When you get in there, you've got all those benefits of the card. You can put all the things. It's a great way. Dave, that's an awesome thing. Keep track of yourself. It keeps yourself accountable as well, not just accountability of the group. So it's a great one. All right. Well, Mike, thank you so much. If you have anything additional, please feel free to chime in and let us know. We covered a lot of stuff, though.
Absolutely.
Oh man, John, I don't know that I could add anything on top of what you guys already covered. So no, I do appreciate you guys walking us through that, showing us all the changes that have gone on over the last several months with Planner. And Dave, that note at the end there about personal development stuff, I love that idea. I think that's something that we can all use, and a great way to hold us all accountable.
Dave, it's a good example. Dave does professional development webinars and consulting and things, and that's like the perfect, Dave, you could do a whole webinar about how to use Planner. This is something we talk about and we live and breathe. So great example, Dave. Thank you.
Well, John, Dave, definitely appreciate you guys. Thanks again to everybody who's joined us today. Hope you found something from this that you can take away and use to kind of benefit you and make your day go a little bit easier, keep track of things a little better. As a reminder, this webinar is recorded, and as soon as the video is ready, we'll be posting it on our resources page of our website, where you can, if you go there now, you can find all of our previous webinars and a few other benefits. We've got some cheat sheets and things like that for Microsoft Teams and some other tools. So definitely go check that out. And lastly, just keep an eye out for the announcement. We'll be doing another webinar soon. and that announcement should be going out via email here in the next week or two. So thank you all again. We hope to see you at the next webinar.
Yes, thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.